awesome.
Dude, I love the backdrop. I need a backdrop. I need to make a show. I'm not going to make a show.
It says it's live.
Are we live?
I mean,
Yeah.
Be concerned.
D-Live just gave me a notification.
Yeah, D-Live's
I
going live.
Got some fucking moonshine.
Are we on like Facebook and YouTube?
Should be on Facebook and YouTube and D-Live all at once. And probably people can hear us talking right now if they're watching.
Yeah, that's okay. Did you share the link anywhere?
No.
Okay.
It'll just be random if anyone shows up, because I just wanted to see if it even works.
Oh.
You guys are like, oh, I get it. You don't want us to be famous. That's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I was kind of hoping no one showed up so I could say horrible things.
I really want to.
I don't know if this song is playing and people really might just be listening to us. I'm going to go to video now so that people can hear us. Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome to Rogueways Randoms. This truly is random. I'm just checking basically to see if Restream works, and this should be going live on Facebook, on YouTube on Rogueways, and on D-Live at Rogueways. So that is what should be happening right now, and I think it's actually working. How did you guys just change your?
I don't know what's happening. I'm almost scared, kind of confused.
Change what?
All right, well, let me introduce the people who are here with me today. I'm obviously your host, Lindsay Sharman, and we have
She was about to call herself Claire.
two very special guests today. One is my longtime fake co-host, Claude Furry. Claude Furry is an amazing host of his own show, talking nonsense, often talking a lot of nonsense, often talking brilliant, deep, thoughtful treatises on things that you find fascinating. I like to have him on the show as often as possible, especially because his dog Freddie is super rad. Claude Furry, thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I love random nonsense.
This is going to be some random nonsense. And I also have this upside down man, Johnny Bravado. He is dear to my heart. He is a crazy rap magician and an amazing artist. In fact, all of the art that's ever behind me is made by this man right below me here. And that's his skill. It goes beyond that too, but I won't go into it. Johnny, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I will do my quick intro because I want anyone who happens to be checking in to see that this is a piece of art you can win. This is not Johnny Bravado's art. This is the art of Nick Klein. He has donated it to be auctioned off. One more time, that's here. You can enter to win this by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing on any social media network, this channel or the YouTube channel, and or my site, rogueways.org, or Amazon link for Sine Curve of Aeons, my book, my first fictional novel that I've written. And you can win this as well by doing all of those same things. So if you want the novel, free copy of that's a $15 value. Or if you want the artwork, which is hundreds of dollars of value, you win it the same way. So subscribe, take screenshots of you doing any of those things and email them to corysharman@gmail.com. That's QUORRISCHARMYN. corysharman.com. Sorry, corysharman@gmail.com. To enter to win. And I'm going to be drawing for the book in a couple days on the 21st on the solstice. And I'm going to be doing the drawing for the painting on the 1st, the new year. So that is that. All right, guys, I don't have a pointless question of the episode. The whole episode is kind of this question that's not very pointless, but I have seen what seems to be some programming to get people to the point of civil war coming in our society. It seems heavy for the past couple years, and it seems to be coming to a fever pitch with the impeachment drama. And then I've also started seeing just very recently more in the news about like militias. Like I guess Virginia, I don't know if I was reading this right, but it seems like Virginia, the government itself is actually funding militias, which I don't even understand how that could be considered a militia if the government's funding it, but maybe I just misunderstand the basics of militias.
Right.
But either way, there's some militia activity going on that's getting coverage. There's always been militia activity going on, but this is getting news coverage and apparently funding. And it's all tied up with defending the Second Amendment rights, which is another topic that they're using to kind of push this whole division. And so I just wanted to talk to some people about those things that are happening. Just based on those few things, do either of you guys want to jump in with anything?
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Mind the comma.
What's the comma?
The
Where is the
comma
comma?
between the commas between a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Nice.
So the militia and then the right of the people to keep and bear arms, basically. And there's no clear distinction between the two that says, does the militia belong to the government or does the militia belong to the people?
Gotcha.
There are two distinct ideas in the Second Amendment that both apply to the people. So
So
when
they
you're
can't.
talking,
So if the government is funding this militia, that doesn't make it less of a.
if the government's funding the militia, it's not a militia; it's a government organization.
Right. Okay. Exactly. Like a militia funded by the government. Stop the government. If the government gets out of control,
then the government will check the government.
Putting me in charge of a bar.
Right. So it goes into everybody's whole idea of the police investigating themselves.
Right.
Exactly.
The militia and the right of the people to bear arms is to protect us against a tyrannical government.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how else to explain it.
That's some weird fuckery. I haven't seen the story. I guess I'm like sitting on a computer right now. I could look it up and read it.
You could.
Actually, I have a question for you real quick, Johnny, because I'm realizing, are you like in the Kennedy Space Center?
I am.
Okay.
I am. I am in the Space Center, the space station, to prove that that the Earth is definitely round. I'm an astronaut. I am floating right now. It's fucking weird talking to you guys like this, but you know, we have to do this like anti-gravity shit every once in a while, and it's pretty fun, really. We have our space orgies. Anyway, I don't want to derail too far because when I get back,
we'll get back to the spaceship some other time.
Yeah, when I get back to Earth, there is that standing threat of a civil war, insurrection, which is also funny. I mean, I like the fact that they're using sanctuary city laws to like be like, no, you can't come and fucking take guns from citizens. We're not even gonna like recognize whatever bill you might pass. That's kind of funny. Because that's the angle I heard. That was in Virginia. That was something that I heard, that like a bunch of sheriffs were basically saying like, yeah. You can make like, you can't have like extended magazines or whatever, but we're going to use sanctuary city laws to basically tell you to go get fed.
Which is pretty rad. Like, I appreciate that there could be people who are trying to stand up for the rights of the people and be constitutional despite whatever the states or federal government might be doing that seems unconstitutional. But I also... I have to wonder if that's part of the sort of build up to the Civil War sort of, you know, fever that seems to be coming as well. I mean, it's really, I've never noticed a time in my life, and I've been pretty politically aware my whole life, I've never noticed a time where more people were like more ready to be violent, seemingly. You know, and we've seen it with Antifa, obviously, or a bunch of, I don't want to say a word that bad. There are a bunch of assholes who are really weak in reality, and so they have to go fight like old grandmas with like walkers and like fucking
it's over political shit. Like why go punch someone over a fucking candidate? Like I and the reason why is because the television has completely put everybody into a fever pitch. On both sides in a way. Like I don't know, I just find it so fucking weird. Like, I don't like who you voted for or who you... I find it weird to, like, openly tell people that you, like, voted
for anyone.
Or, like, what candidate you fucking represent. I get, like,
people start to identify themselves by that. It becomes an identity.
But remember in the fucking, like, 80s? It was, like, rude to talk about, like, who you voted for. Like,
it was rude to ask someone.
Yeah.
It was definitely rude to ask someone. And then they, like, with social media, somehow it became, like you said, it's someone's identity, which I think is fucking weird.
it's their identity, and it's also like you're like called out. They're like, who did you vote for? You tell me so I know which side you're on, so I know whether or not to be violent with you or not. Because I also noticed, so like I'm not on a side, and I don't think either of you guys are either. I think we all see that the left-right paradigm is a division that is not realistic. And so we don't choose any of those sides. We just look at like what the trends are overall and try to see like the programming and whatnot. And so when I go into a conversation with somebody who is on a side and has bought that division, no matter which side it is, whatever questions I'm asking them, they immediately become angry and emotional and violent, basically, not physically, but it's still the precursor to physical violence. They're being emotionally and like mentally violent, or however you want to describe that. You know, we've all probably been blocked and like unfriended by people for like being open-minded recently. But even that violence, you know?
Yeah, I would say that really started for me back when Donald Trump was elected president. I drank that Kool-Aid pretty hard during 2015, 2016, and I lost a bunch of family members and stuff on Facebook, and you know, people didn't want to talk to me anymore, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a common story, and it happened again. Well, and that actually happened on both sides. You know, people that voted for Trump like to cry foul and say they lost friends over it, but so did people on the left. You know, I had family members that were hardcore Hillary, and you know, I didn't want to talk to them. Same thing happened on both sides. You know, I'm completely on a camp. Not that I don't know that I completely let that infest my entire identity at the time, but it was still, I was definitely in a camp. I would say that I've drifted so far from being in any particular camp at this point that I confuse myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I think when you start talking about the violence that people get towards other people who espouse their own particular views, people are a lot more violent now than I think that they used to be. And I read an article, well, it's an essay really, a while back, and then a buddy reminded me of it. The title was The Bourgeois Influence on Anarchy. And part of the take on this was that basically the further a society drifts away from threats of violence, the more they tend to romanticize it.
Right.
So it becomes this romantic notion of, oh, armed revolution, viva la, whatever. Let's, you know, impeach the president, you know, and it's really a stone's throw from, let's have I don't know what you'd call it, a riot in the street, or not a riot, but let's have a demonstration, to flipping over and burning cars. You know, it's just how much are really, where are people at with their fever pitch, you know, and look at not Seattle, Portland is a good example of that. You know, we've had fights in the streets between Proud Boys and Antifa, and other cities as well. And we can't call that an armed uprising or anything like that, but it's two definitely very fired up groups.
Super polarized,
very
and, emotionally charged.
Of course, you know, there's a lot to be said for instigators, you know, from alphabet agencies being inside the groups, but that's part of it, because, you know, what is our good friend Brad Tracy has been posting recently about ab order chaos, and that's, order from chaos. The more chaotic things can become, the greater the order that can appear after the chaos is completed.
So this is where I wanted to kind of get eventually in this discussion, because and thank you, Barometer, or Barometer, however you want to say that, for donating that. That's awesome. Thanks for the lemons. And any super chats out there, you're rad too on YouTube. I appreciate all the love. But I wanted to get to that because I think, because lately especially, aside from seeing that violence that you're just describing, Claude, and, you know, the violence that we've all experienced between our interpersonal sort of situations in life, I've been seeing people specifically agitate for or promote the idea of armed insurrection as the solution, and this is coming from both sides. As people who are, you know, anti-Donald Trump are saying, like, we should go storm the White House because he's going to win again and whatever, and literally, like, we should storm the White House with guns. This is what they're saying, not me. And, you know, people have suggested guillotines and these things, and they're saying this is the only way that the powers that be will listen to us. And the other side is also saying it, you know, and they're saying we should be ready in case whatever happens, that we're going to go and go out and basically kill people, and you're gonna and like what I want to get to is this idea that the people you're killing, no matter which of those situations you're looking at, are just dupes. They're all just stooges. None of them have ever seen the big picture where we're all being controlled, and so we're all being thrown at each other. And like, what better result for our actual controllers than us doing exactly that?
And that's the funny thing, and almost the problem is like, it's even easier to sit there and say it's two sides. I bet you if Antifa had a meeting or the Proud Boys had a meeting, they couldn't even agree on pizza toppings.
Yeah.
So like their fucking idea, like anyone's idea of armed revolution, they wouldn't even have the same like idea. That would be an argument in itself, let alone like targeting the right actual people that are controllers.
Yes.
Like, I mean, like these are people that like watch fucking John Wick, and all of a sudden they think they're like gonna be able to go out and fucking shoot like 9 people or like and then they go out and then they fucking punch someone, and then they're like, wow, like punching someone hurts my knuckles. This
yes.
is crazy.
Or
these are the people that are like, we're gonna like put together a band of people and go storm and take over the government. And it's like,
right.
Yeah, that's fucking romantic, and it's like cool, but how? And then there'd be like 19 people that think they're the leader, and they're all gonna be fucking arguing. I'm just saying, like, it's all kind of comical, but it's also sad because it's gonna be like utter fucking chaos if like something, because I believe that Trump was selected to cause division. Because out of him and Hillary, he was the one that was gonna cause the most fucking ruffled feathers.
Oh yeah.
Because like they've like soyed down and made everybody so unhinged.
And look at all the people who didn't give a fuck about politics who are really, really involved in this now because of how well they've done it.
They got like my homies involved in like people that never gave 2 fucks about politics. They used Obama to get like a grip of people into politics because it was so romantic. Like some of my homies that were like, fuck all politicians, man. Like, if I ever see a politician, cuz I'm gonna smash his head. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, fucking Obama, G. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, you care about a politician? And then they like threw the race card in there and got everybody all fucking inflamed off that shit. They got people so fucked up in their heads, like from the news and all these different narratives that you're supposed to identify with. It's crazy that I don't know, like I say, it's like aimless chaos. Because nobody has like an actual good talking point. Plus, they've never read like Animal Farm anyway. So I'm like, so what? Then you overthrow the government, and then some asshole's gonna just do the whole fucking thing all over again.
Oh, you mean that children's book with the talking pigs?
Yeah, Charlotte's Web.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
it was the spider. But yeah, it's weird.
Do you think it's possible that chaos, though, just simply comes with there being more people? I'm sitting here thinking about the armed revolution, and the first thing that comes to my mind is the Civil War. And most of the people from the South, when the South seceded from the Union, and obviously there's a lot of history that goes into this as well, and I'm paraphrasing and making broad strokes, but most of them didn't even know what the hell was even going on in politics at the time, because there was no way to share information. They got, a newspaper once every 2 weeks.
Right.
It was slanted to however that publisher wanted to publish that information.
And you just have to trust.
So when the recruiting officers come to the little ass podunk towns in Virginia or Tennessee or wherever to start recruiting, basically all they saw was Viva la South, right? And it really didn't mean anything to them.
Right.
So when they go off and they march off to war, it was terror. There wasn't a lot of chaos. So it was really easy to control the masses and get them to go to war. With the way that we share information now, I think it really does just go along with. So a couple of points. The population size, the density of population, I think it was an innovation. So when they say, oh, we're at peak capitalism, and they start touting, socialist ideologies, one doesn't work without the other. I really don't think it does anymore, because one side cannot innovate technology to spread information as fast as is needed to spread chaos without the other side pushing it one direction or the other. That's the dichotomy. So what we're seeing, I think it's planned chaos, and you can see threads in everything. So when we say that there's no order to any of this, no, I really do think that there is an order to it, and you can see the different threads. The last thing that would work in the United States right now is a right versus left revolution war.
Right.
Really, the easiest way to get the United States to tear itself apart is to have it tear itself apart in a million different ways. Tower of Babel falling type situation, right?
Multiple system failure.
Right. It's not a one versus one situation, and I don't think it can be.
Right, exactly. Because like in every fucking group of people, there's like 15 ideology, like branches that go out. Like they all kind of have the base ideology, but it like branches out 15 directions, and then that branches out, and like I don't know, like there's so many, like the narcissistic culture has made everybody a fucking chief. Like everyone thinks they're the leader. Like ego is like, no, my idea is better. And like, I think everyone will just like kill themselves within their own like fucking sector. Like all the different factions that are supposed to go to war with each other, they'll all just like kill each other. And then like,
I think what's more possible that would happen is everybody would start chilling with each other rather than killing each other.
That's the way that it should go. Like with this connectivity and like, anyone who has the sense to talk to anyone, I can talk to people who I disagree with anytime and find common ground and be like, let's fucking smoke a joint and like talk about this shit. And I mean, there are some people that are like so orange man bad or orange man God that I'd be like, yeah, probably whatever. We can like eat this meal and like go our separate ways. But that's like, that's like the same with anything. Like there's always people that are complete zealots, like 1 in a million person.
Well, you know what I think that has a lot to do with is self-awareness on that person's part, though, because maybe I'm just being an ass for thinking this, but I don't think that anyone who's even the smallest amount has the smallest amount of self-awareness can view a political situation from a particular slant. I really don't think that you can. Obviously, murder bad. Yes, we can agree with that. But you start looking at someone who's romanticizing violence, and so the first thing you ask them, okay, well, violence is the only way, according to you, that we can overthrow this bad situation. Okay, so is murder ever good? When is murder good? And that make people start thinking, I didn't realize I was for murder. Okay.
Right? Like how, because that's the thing, like you guys were saying earlier, like when you get out there and you have a fucking guillotine or your fist or your gun, no matter what it is, and you get down to the point where you're actually going to fucking harm somebody, like if you've never been in that moment before, I'm guessing, and I don't know because I haven't, but I'm guessing that you balk and you have like a crisis of conscience. And because what is that statistic that says in World War II or whatever, like 80% of people were intentionally, subconsciously or consciously missing their targets because in our like hearts and souls, nobody wants to hurt another person. And like I'm not anti-violence, I'm totally pro-violence in the right situations. If somebody is outside with an axe and they're about to chop off a baby's head and I have a gun, I'll shoot them and I'll hope to kill them. Like I'm not opposed to it, but I think if you go out there looking for the violence, that's very different than defending an innocence. There's just different situations, and I think like when you're going out and you're gonna try to kill somebody, it's gonna be a lot different than you think it's gonna be. And probably
that's where the only time like I think mob mentality is fucking frightening, because that's the only time people get balls to go like over the fucking top, over the edge. But generally it's because like that's why politicians don't fight wars. Yeah. Like they don't want to fucking kill anyone.
No.
Like they don't have the fuck, like, dude, it's those violent situations, dude, like you see real quick, like most people don't want anything to fucking do with them when they happen. You might have that one friend that you're like, shit, I'm not rolling with that dude anymore because he like always fucks people up for like no reason, and I'm just trying to drink a Colt 45. That's what I do in my 40s. But no, I'm just kidding. But like you notice that, like, I don't know, man, it's real easy to talk that crazy shit because of our violent culture. Or like you watch John Wick and you're like, fuck yeah, I'd do that to a room of fucking Russian mobsters. And it's like, no, you wouldn't, dude. Like
I'd be peeing
Even
myself.
like do sit-ups and shit.
Right.
Like, let alone like punch
that's a good
people.
point, though, buddy, because a lot of people. Who are our heroes in America? For the Patriots, it's the Marines and the Army snipers. The Navy SEALs, things like that. And one thing that people don't often think about is the purpose behind having elite groups of people like that is because of how fucking hard it is to get someone to be okay with killing another person.
Yep.
Yes, you have to desensitize them, train them.
So these Marines go through 9 weeks of training to begin with. Then they go through special training, whatever afterwards. The same thing with in the Army, because it gets that person's mind into this mindset of I don't even know what what is this? This meeting has been upgraded by the host and now includes unlimited minutes. Okay,
what?
Wow,
we're talking all night.
No, so you go on, and it's my own personal experience in basic training. After about 5 weeks in, I was a robot. I think at that point, if you had told me to try to choke someone out, I would have done it.
Yeah.
Right. And I wasn't even going through combat training.
What made that so effective? Do you know?
Psychological. It's very psychological. When I say psychological, it's ridiculous. They had us folding shirts. Our shirts had to be folded. I think, what was it, 4 inches by 4 inches exactly, our T-shirts. And the reason for that was because our drawers to keep the shirts in were only so big, so you could only fit the shirts in there in a certain particular way, like a damn puzzle. And then so when inspection would come, the TI would come, he would open it up, and I would have spent an hour folding this shit. That crease is wrong, and he'd throw it across, and it's psychological. Or he'd say, that bristle on your toothbrush is crooked, and he would snap it in half, and then I had to brush my teeth for the rest of the time with a tiny little toothbrush, right? And it's just little things like that, little things, and it becomes this psychological tick, 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 tick.
Because you're constantly having the threat of being so criticized and so worthless that you wouldn't be in the group, which is a survival thing. So you're just desperate
constantly
to get
hungry, constantly tired,
wow,
right,
constantly worked, constantly under mental duress, not doing this right, making sure that you're walking the right way. If your foot's tilted out a little bit, you're going to get yelled at. All these little things, and that's designed to completely break you down and get you ready for combat training. Because that way, when you're in combat training, you're a sponge. So, yeah. And, so when people talk about, armed revolution, let's pick up our pitchforks. Yeah, right, buddy. You're not in any way mentally prepared to do this. And so when you look back in history at times when the people did rise up, the French Revolution, people did rise up, storming the gates of whatever, killing their landowners. That's because those fuckers were starving.
Exactly.
It was kind of a defense thing, but also, what was the result? Who was in power after they were done?
Right.
The same fucking people.
Right.
It's they know this game so well. They set it up on purpose, and they fucking would love it if we would come to violence, because we'd get rid of a bunch of us and be out of their fucking way, and we'd create that chaos that allows them to have the, excuse to place that fucking order that's even more order than we have now, that's the hardcore fucking control that's beyond what we have now. And then they also are still in power afterwards. They don't lose power. They know how to infiltrate. If you've ever done any political organizing, they're there. They're there. You can point at the fucking cop and everyone knows it, but he's not going anywhere. And they know how to infiltrate. They know how to, just I think, Johnny, you were saying earlier, no one can agree on even what pizza toppings. But when the person comes into the group and they're like, all right, I know what pizza toppings we need, and we're going to do it like this, and it's going to be great. Everyone's like, oh, cool, let's follow this guy. They know how to fucking control us, and they know how to co-opt our movements.
Well, and I think that gets into something that's rarely talked about on the left. It's talked about a lot on the right. From the left is the authoritarians that actually exist in the upper echelons of socialist movements, anarchist movements, leftist movements. They're just as freaking authoritarian as anybody that you can find on the right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's not talked about. And
that's because they don't look past that.
They don't want to see it.
They don't look past that fucking veil. That's what kills me. It's very simple to see with any type of government. It's all the same fucking thing. It's 5 important pieces, playing all the pawns.
Right.
and no one ever looks behind the curtain, dude. Like, I mean, it is funny how many people I know, even like my friends who I would say are more normal or normie, like they still know like the government's fucked up. Like
Yeah.
like most of them don't even vote. They're like, I don't give a fuck. Like they're kind of like apathetic to all of it. So like in a way they see past it. So it's not always hard, but there's some people, man, like some of my family members, I try to just like lead them. Like I'm never like that. Like you're a fucking sheeple. Like look into the fucking IRS. Like no, you don't have to pay income tax. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't do that. I'll just like drop some fucking like nugget of like,
Yes.
oh well, like if he is impeached, like he could still stay in, and they'll probably like reelect him. And then they're like,
They're like,
what? And like, and then you start with that, and then you bring it like a little bit more, like you give little bits, and then you start getting into like, yeah, like taxation is theft, and then like. You can get people to look into some things. You just got to find like what the fuck they're into, because like almost everyone knows Monsanto's fucked up or stuff like that. And I'm like, well, if Monsanto's fucked up, but you don't think that like your political guy isn't gonna fuck you, like that's really weird. I don't know. It's I don't even know what the fuck happened. I smoked a joint earlier and I
just got into Monsanto.
fuck Monsanto.
But seriously, fuck Monsanto. But what are they? They're not Monsanto now. They're Bayer.
Bear, yeah.
Not the good bears who are watching and listening. The bad bear. Bayer. B-A-Y-E-R.
There's a lot of bears on D Live. Does anyone know what that means?
Yeah, these are the Owen Benjamin folks who are fucking rad.
That makes sense. Oh, okay.
I know. I'm so grateful for all my bear people and all of the people who have subbed today, too. I wish I could read your names all out in the list, but I don't have that list. But thank you for subbing. You're awesome. But yeah, so, like, if there's no real, I don't want to make people hopeless, basically, because this is what people get to this point where they're like, all right, so everything's fucked, so let's fucking rise up and let's like take it back. And then I'm sitting here and I'm like, no, let's not, because that's what they want you to do, and it always ends the same way. But what can we do then?
Well, ask yourself, when is violence okay?
That's
a hard question.
In defense of innocence is my answer.
Is that the only time?
No, Friday nights. Saturday nights, if it's dude's night out.
Well, no, I
don't know. What else would it be?
Because let's talk about vigilante justice for a moment. Batman type characters. You know,
right.
We love our fictional vigilantes in America. It's ridiculous. We absolutely adore them. We make entire movie cinematic universes based on them. What makes them okay? I don't know.
I mean, because like the moral righteousness of it, but I even remember as a kid though, like my friend was like hella in the Punisher, and I was like in the Wolverine, and that was a constant argument. And I won't get into.
See, they start the division early.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember reading like an issue of the Punisher, and he like fucking smokes this kid for like selling weed at the high school, and I was like, dude, I can't really get on board with this one. Like, that's a little bit much, Marvel. Like, I mean, I get it, but I don't know, dude. Like, I think if your life is immediately in danger, obviously, violence is okay in self-defense. If you're down with violence yourself, if you've made a personal choice to just be like, I'm not about violence, whatever, and you think you can fucking rap battle someone into submission, then like go for it. But I also think that, like, I don't know, man. I think the problem is the media has people whipped up into a frenzy, like a completely weird, irrational frenzy, where they literally think there's like Nazis, and they think that like Nazis are, and I mean, if you really believe that someone is a fucking Nazi, like, that kind of fucks with the rational side of your brain, and you're like, dude, we gotta stop the Nazis at like all costs. Like, have you seen Schindler's List? Like, it's fucking crazy. Like,
right.
And that guy's wearing a red hat. Doesn't say MAGA, but it's like a Budweiser hat. It's still red, and I'm a fucking bull, and he's a matador.
Well, it's a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle.
Absolutely. And it's not just like on the left. It's all the fuck over. Like it's crazy. So I think they tapped into like people who don't have a lot of critical thinking. They tapped into them and like made them see red when they should be like probably fucking doing something constructive with their time instead of like marching because Don Lemon told
Like,
them
learn how to knit or make a fucking garden or something productive.
What do you think? What do you think makes a person more susceptible to be able to accepting that sort of whistle? Is it something that they've? Is because they spent the entirety of the '90s watching TGI Friday, right? TGIF, or Steve Urkel, and Full House.
I think it's like this. I think it all comes back to like this fear thing. Like we've been programmed with fear, and so they're using that clearly as this tool. To, I mean, you're not going to become violent unless you're deeply afraid, right, of what you might lose if you don't become violent. So there's part of it. But I mean, even down to the fear of like it's terrifying for people when I even just ask them a question. Like I asked someone yesterday, like, what's going to happen when Donald Trump isn't impeached? Because he broke no laws that we can prove, or there, isn't even in the articles of impeachment or whatever. And they were just like, well, he's going to be impeached, and if he's not, then and like, and then unfriended me. And it's like the fear of even having a conversation about it is like, that's a crazy amount of fear that you're programmed with if you can't even talk to me about it. And I didn't come at it like with guns blazing. Like I was very calm and just asking a question in a very neutral way, and it's like still like triggered that fucking emotional response. So like, I don't know what question you asked, but that's what it made me think of.
well, that brings up an interesting point, because I sit here and I remember during the 2016 election how people screaming in the streets after the election,
like
all this
breaking down.
Right. You've seen all the memes, right? Well, okay, so imagine this: they've now put Trump in this situation to make history. He's been impeached by the House. It's going to by the House of Representatives. Now it's going to go before the Senate, and it's going to fail in the Senate. And I'll put money on the fact that he's going to get reelected. So now he's a reelected president who's been impeached. That's history. That's never been done before.
Right.
So now he's even more famous and more powerful with people, his constituency. How much more rabid are his haters going to be?
Exactly.
Oh, exactly. No, I think it's going to be fucking crazy. And so I get like not liking Donald, like it still blows my fucking mind that this dipshit blowhard business fuck is like our president. Like they could have ran a goat against him and Hillary. Like, a goat would have fucking won. But real. Like somehow he won because our culture is so into like being crass assholes and but the illusion of him like, I'm gonna fucking arrest all of DC and like fuck Hillary, she should be in jail, and people like fuck yeah, like fuck that bitch. And it was an emotional response, like, because people are like literally like went and voted for Donald Trump, like it's crazy. Like, well, I don't even believe. I believe people went out and voted, but I don't believe in that actually counting. But anyway, I get not liking him and stuff, but I like do not get like people thinking that he's like the fucking Antichrist.
Because he's not
he's
different.
Like this crazy he's like wearing a hood at night, fucking doing Klan shit. Like I would bet he's probably like with Hillary, like eating babies or something.
Probably.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like friends or whatever. But
oh, yeah, we know they are. We know they were anyway.
You know what I mean? Like
she straps on and fucks him up the ass for sure.
The night phase was canceled.
Oh, hey-o, my bad. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that going to get me canceled? I thought D-Live was a place for freedom.
But yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. To me, like, it's all crazy and silly, but it's like mind-blowing to me, like, when I see people, like, on Facebook going, fucking DEF CON, that, like, he's this, like, super fucking grand dragon of the Klan, like, do it all. Like, I'm like, where's the evidence of, I mean, like, I get he's an asshole. Like, I made a song fucking making fun of him 15 years ago. I've always hated the prick. I think he's fucking retarded.
You gotta release that song now, because it would be fire. People would be like, what?
It's not. I was probably drunk and higher than shit on like 10,000 pounds of cocaine.
Can I clarify? I just have a question. When you said they would, a goat would have won against them, you were referring to Taylor Swift, right?
No.
Oh,
no.
my bad.
I was. I don't know who's the goat. Like it was LL Cool J is what I think he self-proclaimed himself as the goat once. And bit an apple.
So
and,
him and Kanye will go head to head.
Yeah.
So
can it be Kanye in the silver suit though?
Yes, silver suit Kanye versus.
That's not my favorite Kanye.
Like those different Jokers. There's like different Kanyes. Actually, Silver Kanye's mine.
I have to ask, because I don't think I've asked you guys, how do you feel about Christian Kanye?
I like it, I think it's probably for money. I don't think it's real, but it'd be if it was real, I would be happy for him that he found something besides, because I think he's fucking MK Ultra, and like, how do you come out from that? And maybe the only way you can is through like a deep spirituality, but I don't know. I don't know if it's real, so I don't know if it'll work.
I think it's hilarious, just the fact that he went and what did he do? He sang on stage and pretty much grabbed the mic away from Joel Osteen and did his own thing. It's hilarious. The guy is, well, okay, so he's already made all the money in the world from his rap constituency. I'm gonna go over here to these Christians. I'm gonna take over. That's genius. Entirely new audience.
Dude, that's all it is to me, like, as far as he's concerned. I've literally only had one stance on Kanye since his beginning to now, and it's like, his beats are fire. He should shut the fuck up.
George Bush does not care about black people, though.
Yeah, George Bush doesn't. That shit was hilarious. Mike Myers was like, what the? Well, there goes Austin Powers 4 for some reason, just because I'm standing here.
So do you think if Kanye decided to, call for an armed revolution, that people would listen?
I think some would.
Wait. If Kanye called for it?
Yes.
Yeah, probably those people are fucking tapped into him now. That's creepy.
Right?
I didn't even think about that.
Dude, people would, like, suck a bloody dick in an alley if, like, their favorite celebrity, like, told them to.
Oh, God, you're right.
Like,
it's horrible.
I'm just being honest. Like, people worship other fucking people, and for, like, weird reasons. Like, I have some heroes and shit, but, like, I don't know. I never really think of people as, like, past being, like, people. Like,
right. And what's really interesting is with the amount of people that I've talked to doing this show, and just within the last few years, I've talked to way more people than I've ever talked to in the entirety of the rest of my life, and including a couple of famous people and stuff. And the one thing that I've realized now is that when you get a person down to a personal level, they're just a fucking person.
Yep.
And it's these influencers like Kanye and The Rock and all these people that are able to influence people in one direction or another. Ultimately, they're just a person that has figured out the easiest way to influence people into their line of thinking. And normally it's by low-hanging fruit. It's the big shiny object, right? If you look much deeper, you'll find that person's actually, if they're trying to influence people in that way, they're usually pretty shallow.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting because for whatever reason, those people have the greatest ability to influence greater amounts of people. When you get a really deep person, like, I don't know who'd even bring up. Somebody like a Noam Chomsky type that's, got this body of work behind him for decades. He's got a select group of people that he's able to influence. He can throw out one tweet and he gets 1,000 likes instantly.
Right.
But it doesn't go any further than that,
But I think part of that too is because of the nature of his base is more intellectual and questioning, perhaps, like critical thinking, whereas people who are following Kanye obsessively and literally religiously are not going to really question or think about much. Maybe I'm being judgmental here, but
well, I mean, sort of, but not really, because all that we can go off of is our experience in this weird ass culture that is 2019, and most of the interactions that we get on a daily basis in 2019 are based on social media, and that's I say most. It's hopefully you know what I mean by that. Most of the in-depth interactions that I get are done there.
Right.
So,
and most of the dumbest shit I've ever fucking seen is there as well. Right. It's very strange how like I can have like a very complex fucking conversation on one hand, and then like on the other hand, like it's like dick jokes or like even worse, like just people with like their opinion, and then you like chime in with something that's a little bit different, and then you're like suddenly fucking part of the Klan and shit. What? Like you're racist. Like, I'm racist? Really? Like, you and me recorded albums together in the
all I said was I like donuts.
Yeah. People seriously will jump to some wild shit because you say something and they're like triggered back to some other conversation they had where someone else said that and they then like did this, and so you must be that, and you're just like, dude, chill out. ask a
Yeah.
question.
But
or
like you
two.
can have very complex. That's why it's weird. It's a double-edged sword. You can make like
Yeah.
very complex relationships and like super critical thinking. Even people you don't even agree with. Like me and Claude argue a lot about stuff like you know
I can't
Eminem
think
or fucking Aesop Rock. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't
Like-
really think of much that we argue about.
Not really. Yeah, not really. But I mean, so like just for instance, like I have a homie who is like super duper flat Earth, and I'm not like a NASA head or anything, but like I'll play devil's advocate, and like he gets pissed off, and we'll like argue about it, but like we're still cool at the end of the day, and that's what critical thinking. I almost think it was like a generational thing because most of my friends that grew up with in the 90s, like there's a lot of us that are still really close, and we don't agree on a lot of things, but we can sit there and have like even like a heated debate over shit. Like I remember when my buddy was first telling me about chemtrails, like fucking '02 or something, and I was like, dude, you're tripping. That's just like Iron Man, you know. Like, and I keep saying it was Iron Man to like get under his skin because I'm a dick. And he's like still one of my best friends, but like he was always like 2 steps ahead of me on everything. Like the moon's a hologram. Like shut the fuck up. Like I've never even heard that theory, and then like 4 years later, I hear the theory, and I'm like, how are you? But we like argue about shit like that all the time because I'm like, fuck you, it's not whatever, and we're able to like still hang out. We're like best friends, and I think this like younger generation, dude, if you just don't, and it's like simple shit. Like if you don't agree with vaccines, then you're a fucking baby killing son of a bitch. Like I don't know. It's really weird how they're so quick to shut you the fuck down, or like call you a racist or a misogynist or a sexist. Like,
well, here's the point to that though, Johnny. It's like you and I've talked several times about whenever you first started getting into conspiracy theories and all this with Bill, what's his name? I can't
Bill
remember.
Cooper, yeah,
Cooper and all that, and going down that. But back then, it was much harder for us to get this type of information, to be able to look behind the veil and see, okay, this is really what's going on. In fact, in the 90s, I didn't even have anyone to talk about this kind of stuff with. These days, this type of information no longer goes at a slow burn. It flash fires real fast. And it leads to weird shit, like suddenly this is racist.
Yeah, and people are like serious about it.
It's
crazy.
It's almost like social media creates too much kindling, right?
Right. It's like being on acid when you first are doing it and you realize that you can like monitor your own thoughts almost or something. I don't even know how I'm trying to explain it, but it's like too much information for you. Like you realize that you can understand and perceive too much information and it's like overwhelming as fuck, and then you can't control it, and then you like have a bad trip maybe or whatever. Right. Like it's like that. It's like we're as a race, we're like now have this global consciousness and we're like, whoa, is this actually what the fuck we've been doing? Like what? We're like not prepared to deal with the full extent of it or something.
Well, it's so much. It's so much. It's like so fragmented, so fast. Like I don't even think like a lot of people have any principle, like because they're just like they'll learn like their new principle the next day off of fucking a page that they follow.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I read yesterday that this is the thing,
so and they won't even look into the past the meme. No. Like the meme is just fucking fact.
I was just told that this is bad, and so it's bad now.
And then some asshole on 4chan that came up with that is dying right now laughing. Like,
but you know what? That's also the way that we're sort of taught to do things from birth, though. And there was a whole big deal made in the 80s and early 90s about don't let your TV raise your children, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
And so now we have a whole generation of people or maybe 2 generations of people that were raised that way. And so it's, okay, well, I see this thing, therefore it must be the truth. I think they're used to accepting these instant truths handed to them, okay? And that forms, I don't know, maybe that can form a sort of stream of consciousness. If I accepted this when I was 6 years old based on something the television told me, now I'm 32, I'm still accepting information in the same way. If it doesn't fall in line with what I knew back then it must not be a thing. So with this vast amount of information that's coming at us, maybe it's that much easier to create civil discord out of chaos.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah.
No, I think you're exactly right. You were saying earlier, like, what's the difference or what is it about people that makes them, more easily brought into these types of things? And I think that's got to be part of it lately is they kind of know they have this trick up their sleeve where they can control people more easily. And I think the people who, I don't even think it matters necessarily which generation you're in, because I still think there's people who are in the newer, younger generations that can see through all the shit too. But there's something about like being able to think critically and ask questions, and I don't know what causes that or creates it. But those are the type of people who are going to be less likely to be able to be programmed. But there's got to be something in there about intelligence, and I hate it, but I think it's true. I think that if you're less capable of thinking clearly, you're going to be less capable of seeing through the games because they're really fucking good at them.
Right.
They're like
Right.
at every single angle, they're
Practiced.
punching people and fucking pushing them into
And
these.
that's also like the fucked up thing, man. Like, it's got me so cynical about every piece of fucking information I ever received. It's like, in a way, that's fucked me up. That's like mind controlled, the critical thinker. And I'm not saying I'm like super fucking genius level critical thinker, but like,
You're pretty good.
when you freaking like, you don't know what to fucking believe, that can fuck you up too, man. And that's I don't know. I think that I've always liked the theory that the internet itself may have been like the Antichrist, because people were just like, it's gonna come and like everyone's gonna love it. It's gonna like fucking destroy everybody.
Dude, yeah.
And like it's crazy because like there are seriously times when I feel like such a get off my lawn prick about technology that I'm seriously like having like fucking daydream fantasies. Like, remember when like you got like a phone call and like the phone in your house rang and like you didn't know who the fuck it was? It was like this cool mystery. Like, pick up the phone because there wasn't caller ID, there wasn't internet. Like, I don't know, like you kind of cherish that, or like those moments where you like, man, I wonder like what planet Boba Fett was from. You'd have to wait like 2 years for some fucking kid on a playground to like know some story. Like, now we have all this like quick access to everything that like has disconnected people so badly, I feel. Like, I make it a point to like try to fucking know my neighbors and shit. Like, I'm still antisocial because of all this shit. So it's not like back in the day where you like on your street there would just be like a baseball game and shit, or like a football game with all the neighborhood kids. I don't even know if there's even kids in my neighborhood because they're all fucking Fortnite dancing.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't even know like social cues and this. So I just sometimes like think back at like that simple shit. Like, man, like it was kind of cool when you just didn't know what people were up to. You had to like drive to their house and see like what they were doing. Like, let's go hang out. Or like if you're hella cool, you had a beeper.
A beeper.
Yeah.
You know what? You made one point there that I really liked because I was thinking about it actually earlier tonight. I was watching Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, I think it's called. And I was thinking, I'm trying to go back through and watch them all before I go see the new movie on the 23rd. And
you want to kill a shitload of young people, don't you?
I was thinking, do you remember the movies came out in the 80s? And by the time we were teenagers in the 90s, it was the fact that he was making new movies. Dude, it felt like it had probably been 30 years since the came out, right?
Yes.
And for my son, he's 12 now. All he's known is new Star Wars movies.
Yeah, he expects them. Like every 2 years, there's a new Star Wars movie.
Constantly.
Right.
Same thing with Marvel. So, like, it's all these Marvel movies coming out, and new content, constantly new content. They don't know how to wait anymore.
No.
And
or
so
do anything original.
Yes.
Nor do they want to.
Dude, like the fucking 80s, that's why people are always like, Johnny, you're such a like cranky fuck. Because I tear shit apart all the time as far as the movies go. But I'm like, dude, in the 80s we had like Terminator, Predator, RoboCop, fucking Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, like even like John Hughes shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think there's this huge
science, like,
and there's really this huge cult right now for all this nostalgic stuff, right?
Right.
Just, nostalgia is becoming a market
because the world is terrifying.
Right. It is terrifying, but I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that there is not a lot of I don't know what you would call avant-garde thought now.
Right.
Really not. You have movies like John Wick that come out there just a little bit different, a little off the beaten path.
They're cool. They're revenge porn, which is like
right. But
that's
it's
why I
not-
loved
it's
Van
basically-
Damme movies and Seagal movies when I was a kid, because it was just like this guy's gonna single-handedly
But it's
kill an
definitely
army.
it's not avant-garde, and it's
Right.
and it all it does is play on nostalgic emotions, or just like you said.
But they won't let new shit in. Like, the publishers who would even look at this book were like, it's not feminist enough. And I'm like, the fucking lead characters are women.
Get out of here.
Like, what?
No doubt.
But it wasn't like their version of feminism
Right.
for whatever fucking reason.
that's-
It wasn't
dude,
like
that's-
SJW enough, and so it's not good. It's like, it's a fucking fresh new idea. Like, fuck you.
Right. No,
I'm
and
not
I-
bitter about it.
But no, that's the perfect way to describe the point, though. I feel like people want this new content, this new off the wall, weird quantum thinking.
Who
Get away
wouldn't?
from the binary 1 and 0, left or right.
Yeah.
But the powers that be, the people that own the publishing houses and whatever.
That's not their agenda.
Right, exactly. And is that because the old guard is still in place in those institutions, or is it an agenda? I don't know.
I think it's an agenda
Yeah.
and a money-making fucking machine.
Right.
They're like,
Is it
we
though?
know we could like just fucking throw the dumbest. They could make fucking Howard the Duck like the dumbest. Well, he's not the dumbest Marvel character, but any Marvel character, fucking
I didn't
Squirrel
even know
Girl.
he was a Marvel
They
character.
could put Squirrel Girl out and fucking make $1 billion. And like, it wouldn't even have to be that good. Like Captain Marvel, I haven't even seen it. I can't imagine the shit is good, and it made $1 billion
What's-
just because it was Marvel and a chick. And
But
they're
did fucking what's the one not Transformers, Ghostbusters with the women, that didn't make very much money, did it?
That's true.
Well,
That's
no,
true.
and I think that's because it hit on this. When Ghostbusters came out, it was truly different. Truly
Yeah.
different. And it was a piece of shit. If you guys haven't watched it, there's a show on Netflix called The Movies That Made Us, and episode 1 is about the Ghostbusters. And it's that little short hour-long documentary is quality. And they go into talking about how shitty that movie was. I mean, if you look closely, you can see like outlines of the ghosts and shit. It's just bizarre.
Oh yeah.
How terrible the movie was. And,
Like quality-wise, like
quality
Yeah.
was.
Right.
The
And
content.
it's because they forced it out in 9 months. That's
Yeah.
all the time they took to make it, right? And then it became this global phenomenon.
Right.
And they had a couple of spin-offs and stuff here and there, and now here 30 years later, we're trying to remake it and tap in on that nostalgia. But they inject too much of that agenda into it, and it flops. Now we have this new Ghostbusters coming out that completely picks up the original story, and suddenly people are like, fuck yes.
Right.
Right?
Well, dude, that's funny too, because even I've been watching The Mandalorian because I'm a fucking piece of shit. And I'll
Because
fucking
Baby Yoda
dial
is
in
so
anything.
cute.
Well, no, the thing that while I'm watching it, I'm like, dude, that's kind of tawdry because they just tap in to like visual cues from the fucking original trilogy.
Like
They're like, here's these alien races. Yeah, like a Baby Yoda. Like, dude, how can you not like a Baby Yoda?
I know, like you could make
then,
a
like,
Star Wars
the fucking-
baby everything, and I'd be like, ah, like, and I know it's stupid, but I'd still be like,
have
it's
to,
so
they, like,
cute.
There's the Jawas. There's like the bar in Tatooine, like in Mos Eisley.
Yeah.
Like they play on your fucking like I loved that as a kid fucking thing, which is cool. Like I'm glad they actually kind of made something Star Warsy that felt Star Wars. But they can do that with like anything. Like you can watch the Star Wars trailer for the new movie, even if you watched the last one and thought it was a piece of shit, and the fucking sounds of the lasers and the goddamn music play on that bullshit that's been in fucking your brain since 1980. And like you're like, dude, I'm in. And then you're like there and you're like, what the fuck? Like I knew this is gonna be some corny shit, but like I heard fucking Darth Vader breathing, so I like bought a ticket. I don't know. It's cheap. And
Yeah.
It's fucking,
This is
it's
what's
crazy,
interesting too,
'cause
is
it gets
that
me hyped up. Like it hits my adrenaline to see like Darth fucking Vader. It's retarded.
Yeah.
And I hate it. But it's like.
but even though you
MK
know it,
Ultra,
it still
like-
works, which is the fucked up
does.
part.
Yeah,
But this is like,
Yeah.
even that original series, the programming in it is basically, like, it seems clear to me now, they're, besides the space programming, which we could get into, we'll leave that aside for now. The programming of like you can and should have armed insurrection against your evil empire overlords, and if you do, the force will be with you and you'll be victorious, and like
Right.
you know, like this is also programming that we've had over and over again, which leads directly back to our topic of like I think that they've had this plan for the long term. Like I think that this is all going exactly as planned, and I don't want to be coming from a place of fear, but I do think that that is what they're hoping for and heading towards in the next election, is that Donald Trump will win again, and that people will fucking lose their minds and get like actually very violent about it. And I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
I have to hope that that won't happen, because people, I think that people are very enamored with lifestyles in this country, and I think that and just personally from the people that I know, I think that if you start trying to take people out of their lifestyle and start threatening that by asking them to go and fight their neighbors because their neighbor voted for Trump,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think when it comes down to it, when you really get down to it, that person's not going to do anything.
I want to think the same thing. I've had the same feeling too. Like all we have to do is not fight each other.
Right.
That seems pretty easy to do.
But see, on the flip side of that, you have this. There's a whole other thread going on in this country right now, with police state stuff, the thin blue line, bootlickers, this whole thing, the boogaloo. That's the big one.
What the fuck is the boogaloo?
Oh God, man.
I thought it was a Rick and Morty thing.
Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah, boogaloo.
How do you describe that? So basically, in libertarian groups, 4chan, meme pages, Pepe, they've started this whole. I don't even know.
I've seen it lately, like the boogaloo-ation.
Basically, it is it's a word designed to describe armed insurrection against the United States government.
Wow, so this is the programming is literally coming from this like these places that are culture creators. Wow.
Precisely, and it's like we were saying earlier, it's happening on both sides of the fence. On one side, you've got Antifas and all this other stuff, people wearing the balaclavas and all that, and on the other side, you've got these pictures of bootlickers and libertarians and Proud Boys and everybody else with memeing themselves having weird headgear with night vision goggles and holding AR-15s, calling themselves the Big Igloo or the Boogaloo. And I have to say that I think that all of that is, pretty well generated. And I've come up with some pretty great memes that never caught on.
Right.
I don't get why Boogaloo caught on. Maybe I'm just being cynical, but I want to say that it's pushed, it's manufactured.
It's got to be.
Dissent, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, I think you're right, and I hadn't noticed that at all. And I do, while we're sitting here at the same time as we're saying that it's like pretty easy to not just fight your neighbor, and all we have to do is not, like, we can't really imagine most people you encounter like picking up a weapon or becoming violent. What I can imagine is these, because it's just like Rogue Cow said on YouTube, like the left isn't that violent, and when there is violence, it's usually like a psyop or a plant, and that's true. That's another thing from my days of political organizing, is that you'd have a very peaceful protest, and then all of a sudden some random people that no one's ever met run in and start fucking shit up, and then everyone gets like fucked up, and then now everybody's like looks violent even though they're not, and then like people can say it became violent, and it's like one random dude came in and did this. But so there is that shit that happens too. So I would worry that like where people would go out to these, like even the impeachment rallies that people are going to, where like massive amounts of people are gathering, and we've seen this at like Antifa. I love that Johnny's still upside down. Like it's just like become normal now, and I forgot, and then I realized how abnormal that is. But anyway, that is going to be turned artificially violent, and that's the only time I could see it actually working.
Because like of the mob mentality,
right?
People riled up,
and even then, I don't think most people there would be violent, but I think
right.
Yeah,
because that's the thing. Like if you've ever been in like a violent situation with like 40 people on one side and 40 on, it's not Braveheart romantic. Yeah. Like 6 people fight 6 people, like the other people run. Like or they like stand there and square off and like pretend, or like or someone gets shot, and that's what I think is going to happen. I think some agent provocateur is going to go to one of those like Proud Boy Antifa things, because those are just like in small pockets of the coast. It's not everywhere. Like, you don't see that shit everywhere. And then when it happens, the media blows it all up to make you fucking, when you're sitting in your house all day, like you go to work all day and you come home and you turn on the TV and you see these clips, you're like, oh fuck, like the world is crazy, I'm not going to go get groceries. Like, some agent provocateur is going to shoot one of those kids, and it's gonna fucking spiral into some crazy shit. Like, because no one out there is really out to shoot each other. They're out like doing their stance. There's like 10 Proud Boys that are probably tough, and there's probably like 20 Antifas that are like tough. Actually, there's probably more Proud Boys because I think they're like ex-soldiers or something. But whatever the fuck. I feel like it's all manufactured because like there's always lots of cameras at these events. These events are well documented to like have shit happen, and something fucked up's gonna happen. Someone's gonna punch some girl with a Trump hat, and someone's gonna get messed up, and it's gonna like spiral out of control, and it's gonna become. But then again, like the American attention span is like weird. It'll probably like be a huge story, and people will be like, "Oh, damn, we need to like not have guns anymore," and then like Trump will like tweet some shit about titties, and like
he'll tweet like a diss to Baby Yoda, and then people will actually get violent. How dare you!
You can't fucking fuck with Baby Yoda.
You think about how fast our damn news cycles are. I still sit here and remember when David Hogg was like from
right
Florida school was all over social media. Now he's
people are like, who?
Gone.
Dude,
who? Right.
Greta's already almost gone.
Oh yeah, Greta's yeah. I feel like they tried to reinvigorate her by like giving her the Time magazine cover.
Yeah,
right.
And she was kind of like,
that's like, whatever. And so I have to. I feel like Tool's new album got more hits than most news stories do. Right.
Yeah.
And that's going to be so frustrating for the powers that be too. I said,
true.
But while you were talking a minute ago, Johnny, about these big riots or whatever, somebody's going to do something. I was thinking, back in the 90s, how frustrating it must have been for whatever agent provocateur to like go up to a rock show and see 40 people on this side and 40 people on this side, and Jonathan Davis from Korn is like, all right, you motherfuckers and you motherfuckers, go! And the mosh pit starts, and
right.
Like, why can't we do that?
Right.
Right.
I think Jonathan Davis is actually like the lead guy right now, like pitting everybody against each other. They're like, you want a job, buddy? Yes.
He's like, well, okay, so let's break down how I did this in the 90s, okay?
The master tactician. I thought that Boogaloo was just a dance-off, and that would be a good way to solve our problems.
Well, an electric Boogaloo is.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
and I think that, well, I never put that together until just now, but I guess that's the point. Let's have a dance-off, right?
This is interesting.
I want to tell you the story really quick. This is important.
Okay, then I gotta say my thing.
Yeah. This is totally important. Me and my brother one time went to a wedding in Vegas, and we were really bored because everybody was, I don't know, being annoying. So we decided to leave and walk up the strip. And this is around the time like those movies were out where like people were fucking like serve dancing each other and shit. Me and my brother are walking up the strip. That's a dance-off, Lindsay. You look confused.
Okay, thanks.
It's like an aggressive dance-off.
I understand your lingo.
It's like West Side Story, but modern.
And
me and my brother are walking back to our hotel, dude. It's like 3 a.m, and fucking it's pretty dead on the strip. It's like right before, it's like in March or something. And me and my brother are walking up the strip, and these kids with a boombox like come up and start like violently like fucking dancing.
Just violently dancing.
That's awesome.
Like dancing at us, and like
yes.
We walk up, and my brother just turns to me. He's like, "Bro, I think we just got fucking served." It has nothing to do with anything, but it made me think of that.
And then they were like, "Bitch, you've been boogalooed," and like flew off into the night.
Dude, it was like around the time there's a South Park episode.
Did they Crip walk away? Because that's amazing.
Dude, they were like in no way even like hard, but they like danced so fucking well at us that we were just like, shit, dude. Like I don't know, man. Like, I guess I'm just gonna go walk back to that hotel and turn to a woman because I just got totally destroyed by like your masculine fucking hip hop dancing,
That's awesome.
tail tucked, walking out. Sorry to totally derail everything, but
I love that story.
That is no derail, buddy. That's gold.
It was stunning. It was brave. It was beautiful.
I'm still here. I still have all my limbs. I don't know how.
I just Brett just said Greta and Hogg are both very unlikable. You'd think that they could get actors that were easier to support. And that's a really good point that I never thought of. Why'd they pick some of the two, like, worst fucking possible candidates? Like, was it because they wanted them to seem average? Or something? Like, you could get, like, I hate to be this petty, but, like, better looking people. People with more charisma. And then, Barometer says that's impossible because to be willing to fill that role, sorry, there's shit in front of the text, I can't see it, but you can't have a good spirit in you in order to fulfill that role, right? If you know what you're doing, you don't have that, and so you can't have charisma without that spirit. So I'm like, maybe they literally cannot find like likable humans who can trick us into liking them, to play these parts.
Maybe, but I think isn't that sort of the point of things like MK Ultra and all that? I mean, we've had some pretty charismatic people that we call
true
that we say are. You said it earlier about Kanye West, right?
Yeah,
he energizes millions of people around the world, and
true.
He's not quite all there, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like what they try to do with these people from like Greta or David Hogg or these people involved in these big situations, they're almost flash pan famous, right? They're only famous because of this one thing. When you're talking about people from Hollywood or in the music industry or whatever, they work their way up into being famous. Yeah, there's one hit wonders, but they disappear, right? That happens, in movies and in music. I want to say the same thing happens in, the news cycles as well. We have people that get famous for these big events. Ted Kaczynski, his name is remembered, right?
Right.
You're not gonna forget his name. Charles Manson, you're not gonna forget his name, right? These are oddly charismatic people. Ted Kaczynski even has people to this day who hold him up as some sort of messiah. Entire groups based around the dude's ideologies that he wrote down.
That's crazy,
right? No one's doing that with David Hogg. I want to say that they probably hoped they were going to do that with Greta. That doesn't work. They're flashpan famous, and I think that's the point of them.
Is it? So, like, you don't think that they wanted them to last longer and have a stronger influence? You think they're just meant to be, like, divisive and then gone?
There's no backstory to them to make them lasting, right? There's not enough there's not enough meat on the bone. Humans love a mystery. That's part of what makes us us. We love to dig, and we love more. When you're talking about Greta, she said her piece at the UN, and then she was skipping school. That's about all there is, right? David Hogg, that's about all there was. The guy that killed all those people in Las Vegas, we all knew there was more. We weren't allowed to know more, right?
That's what I was thinking about. Like that, just like the news cycle is crazy. Like how fucking fast, like.
That whole flash in the pan, the news cycle, you're famous. I can imagine some guy having it, mapped out in Microsoft Project, saying, all right, so next September we're going to have X event and we need a person to fill this role. Somebody go find that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like that news cycle thing and like us forgetting and kind of moving on so quickly to the next thing. Earlier, Johnny was reminding me of, what were you it was some bill that like I didn't even fucking remember.
Oh, well, that wasn't even really in the news, but like DDD 51.
Okay, yeah, that one I literally hadn't even heard of.
Oh, the NDAA.
NDAA I totally forgot about,
Like they literally set up like two bills that are passed into law that could make any president technically take full control and be a dictator, and then they like loved it when their guy like put it through or like didn't even know about it, because most of that shit happens behind the scenes.
True.
Like, that's why I'm like, I wonder what Trump is up to behind the scenes, or like not him,
like right now,
because all it is like all the last 3 years has been like his tweets and how fucked up he is, and like like the news is fucking retarded. Like I'm like, why is this even? Most of this, I'm like, why is this even news? It's like
the Afghanistan papers come out and like one person mentions them, and then we're still just talking about a tweet.
Yeah, like that's crazy. Like it's crazy effective. Like
I don't know if they're called the Afghanistan papers.
The Panama Papers.
Yeah.
with all the billionaires that.
Wasn't that a long ass time ago?
Yeah, right. Very few of us remember it, right?
Yeah.
And yet it was a huge freaking deal. Very few people are even talking about Julian Assange, even though he's rotting away in a prison cell right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very good at smothering the stories that matter with bullshit stories. That's what makes people like Greta so important to the news cycle. You what's going when someone like Greta shows up at the UN, what else is going on, right? I think
Right.
we all know that.
Like that's the thing. Like I know she was already an activist and stuff, but it's just like, dude. I mean, come on, dude. How groomed could it be? And like the whole point of her is, dude, like I feel so bad for her. Her anxiety levels over this shit that adults clearly told her. Like like everything about, like, she's like neurotic about it. Like she thinks the world is gonna end because irresponsible adults like made her think that, and she obsesses over it or whatever. But anyway, obviously there's like handlers involved, because you don't just like bring like, oh, like here's a fucking kid, UN, like we're gonna have this fucking kid like talk, like I don't know, like she obviously was doing activism work before and she had made a name.
Okay.
But she just like popped up out of fucking nowhere and then was just like a huge deal. And like I say, I feel bad for her, dude, because I think she believes everything she's saying, and like whether she's right or not, I think it's fucked up. They use these kids as human shields, because then if you criticize her argument, you're a fucking asshole.
Oh, I love that one, that meme that's like, oh, the face you make when they tell you can't criticize someone because they're a kid, and it's that fucking
the other kid,
the red hat kid at the fucking guy with the drum in his face. I'm like, word.
So
right.
On the other side, do you think so? Greta served her purpose though by reinvigorating this whole conversation about climate change, at least for a little bit.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Talking insurrection, that's part of how hard have they been pushing that for so long at this point. I hear something. Is that me?
Yeah. It's gone.
That was creepy.
That was weird. You heard that?
It was like my voice coming back somehow.
I was like, oh, what's even happening? I feel like climate change, this whole idea that, the world is somehow going to be destroyed by human beings, isn't going to go away anytime soon. Even though they keep pushing it back, every 30 years now.
Yeah.
By 2020, by 2025, by 2030.
Definitely by 3035.
At this point, I'm looking forward to that shit happening.
Yeah. You're like, come on, prove it.
Like, I just want lava, man. Fucking lava, like I've never seen it.
I have to wonder, by keeping on trying to keep that narrative invigorated, are they trying to get people angry? Are they trying to get people up in arms about do they want more climate activists blowing up things?
Like the whole, I feel bad because I'm passionate about very dumb things, like in the scope of the world. Like I'm not changing the fucking world, you know what I mean? But I'm okay with that. Like, I just can't imagine like obsessing over an issue. Mm-hmm. Like I used to obsess over conspiracy theory and shit back in like 2003. It was awesome. It led to like severe alcoholism, depression, cocaine use.
It's awesome.
Just random fucking, yeah. Anyway, but it like, I get having principles. I get having fucking a moral code, but to like obsess over something that like, that's like kind of a gray area, like that hard, or like obsessing over your political side, or like, and like seeing like other people as the enemy, like you don't believe in my climate science, like holy shit, you're like the fucking no-nose guy in Harry Potter. I saw it once. I'm not good enough to be. I know Harry Potter references are always like huge.
They do really well with the crowds. Voldemort is who you're referencing.
See, you're not supposed to say his name, asshole.
I'm a rebel.
But like, yeah, like to like, I don't know, man. Like, and like a lot of these kids don't even, and they're pissed off because they were fed a line to go to fucking college, and now they're like $190,000 in debt, and they like have to work at fucking Starbucks because they got a shitty degree, and they have like nowhere to place this. Like everybody's pissed off. Like it's impossible to like have good quality of life without like. I don't. But they funnel that anger into the wrong shit. They funnel it into this like weird idea that like fucking polar bears are fucking floating around right now on like this little platform of ice.
Like
Because we're,
scrawny
like,
as fuck and
assholes.
dying and
Right,
yeah.
like they like get fed this shit to like funnel their energy into. It's like when you know, like, I don't know, some kid from the hood, you like funnel his energy into boxing and he becomes like a
Is it
badass fucking boxer and
is
shit.
it
Like,
easier to try to blame a bigger something bigger like the boogeyman than it is to try and blame the actual powers that be? Like, because we
absolutely.
know that the government is the cause of all this. So, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot of searching or digging to figure out why college is so expensive.
Right.
A 3 or 4 Google clicks will get you there,
Right.
right? Get you
Yeah.
all the information you need on it. So, is it just easier to blame the boogeyman? I for these kids, I think it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like it's way easier to blame like the boogeyman than like the fucking guidance counselor and like all the people that fed you a line of shit that you're gonna like go be a professor of fucking gender studies or
Right.
like whatever your weird useless degree. Like my degree that I was going for was pretty much, it was computer animation, and it would have been completely fucking useless.
Right.
Um,
Mine's
because
completely useless. You know, my son was telling me the other day that he said, "Dad, I don't want to go to college," and we're driving to go see Christmas lights anyway. Allison looks at me and then says, "You know, why, kiddo?" And I'm just instantly thinking, because my gut reaction immediately was telling him, "No, you're going to college." Now I had to stop myself and think, why was I about to say that?
right,
Because
Really?
it's tradition that you want your kids to go.
Yeah, you know, I want him to do well in life. I know that the path that I was told that I needed to take to do well in life was to go to college and do X. To begin with, I didn't follow that path. I didn't even graduate high school, for God's sakes. You know, it wasn't until much later in life that I went to college, you know.
right,
But by that point, I did it because it was something that I wanted to do.
right.
It was. What am I supposed to tell my child? Not me, the royal us. What are we supposed to tell our children? Hey, you don't have to go to college. What are they going to do? Well, you know, I can send him a link to Gary Vaynerchuk's YouTube channel and then tell him to go to town. But I feel like that's only going to get you so far.
Dude, that's the thing too. I think a lot of kids like want to have like they like really want to be YouTubers. Like they're like, I'm gonna be a Twitch streamer. I'm gonna be, and that's like, it's funny because when I was a kid, I was like, I'm gonna do Star Wars movies. I'm gonna be like a famous artist. I'm gonna be a famous rapper. And like, it's just this like drop in the bucket. Like I don't know. Everybody thinks that they can like just become famous or whatever. When I try to tell my friends' kids, dude, I'm like, obviously do whatever you want to do, but like if you like learn a trade, learn HVAC, fucking be an electrician, be a plumber, because every motherfucker that's in college right now doesn't know how to fix their car.
And you get like free apprenticeships usually. You know, you might even get a paid apprenticeship to learn the shit, and then you're working and you have no debt and you're already making as much money as people with degrees.
And if you like are into fucking elitist pricks over, like you're the one they're gonna call when their plumbing fucks up or their car fucks up and they don't know how to do it. And that, like, I don't know if anyone's ever been to a mechanic or had an HVAC problem. Like those motherfuckers will upcharge the shit. Like doing your brakes is like $600. You can do them yourself for fucking $100.
But see, here's the thing though: is we're feeding right into another line that's entering the mainstream agenda lately, in that we have too many people with degrees in this country. We have too many people with advanced degrees, too many people with engineering degrees. We don't have any workers. We don't have, the blue collar workers to fill these other jobs. That's all over the news.
Right.
So by propagating this, I mean, do they want fewer people going to college now because they realize they're going to start having to lower prices?
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know, because
it is true though. Like I'm telling you, like just driving people around, like talking to them.
Yeah.
There's so many engineers and shit. They're like, literally, because Denver's like blowing up. They're literally paying people like $80 an hour to come in and do like pipe fitting, shit like that. Because there's not enough electricians, there's not enough plumbers. Like, because nobody do that. That whole field is not romantic. So like a lot of people skipped it. I think.
I don't think they're doing it because they want it. I think it's I could be wrong, but I think it's an automatic like response to how things are. Like Johnny's saying, there's not enough people who have been doing it because we've had this push for so long. We've made it easier to get loans. and we've made like, especially in high school, we've like had this huge push since fucking No Child Left Behind or whatever, that like every fucking kid has to go to college or else you failed as a school. And like, but you'd think they want everyone to go to college because this is their like best training ground for all their agenda bullshit too, and I think back to even to my college days, which were like now a long time ago, like 10 years ago, that since I graduated with my master's after 9 years of indoctrination in the college level.
Right.
And that even then it was very like socialist, trans and gay rights and feminist and all of these things that we see sort of taking over the culture now were being implanted then as well. And I think it's really, really effective at that level, maybe more effective than at the younger levels. So like, I would assume that they want everyone to keep going to college, but there is this growing sort of waking up to that and like trying to get more people into trades. And again, we do actually need those people, so there's that. But like maybe it is a genuine awakening. I don't know.
It could be, but I look at it more. So we talk about insurrection. You think about the word revolution. Words matter. We know that a revolution is it's a revolving. It's a wheel.
You go back to the same place you started.
Right.
Yeah,
so
we just
need
talked
more
about
people
this.
going to college. We don't need more people going to college, and around we go. And we know that when you get people to more trade skilled people than you do highly educated people, then you get back into unions and you get back into fair wage and all this. And so this wheel, it revolves around and around.
Huh.
So if you think about
it's just
that,
the constant way they keep us in the fucking wheel.
Right, exactly. It's the rat in the wheel. And that wheel feeds other wheels. The better idea is to step back and objectively look at where we at in 2019 and what doesn't make sense anymore. What is outmoded and what is outdated for us as a people, not our leaders, but us as a people, to sit back and say, okay, that doesn't work and we're not going to do it anymore. Well, that is a different type of revolution that's saying, okay,
that's better than a revolution.
Which choices do you give me?
That's an exit from the system, because I'm glad we got here, because this is one of the ways that you actually can change the system, is just fucking not doing it anymore, right? Or like just doing like Buckminster Fuller. It's like one of my favorite things to point out is he's a fucking genius and he like changed the world. He's like, there's not many people smarter than Buckminster Fuller, and his whole point was that you cannot change the system, you can only make a new one.
Yep.
Right? That gets out of revolution. You don't have to just keep repeating and going back to the same, giving the same people power again. You just fucking do it. And unfortunately, one of the ways you can do that is by living self-sustainably, but that's really hard to actually achieve.
Right. And I think that comes down to us looking at, okay, take account of where we're at in 2019. We know that, like, for me living in this house where I'm at right now in Austin, I require X amount of dollars to live every month. I require, for me to live comfortably and keep my sanity, I need some sort of access to instant information from all over the world at all times. So I've got to have the internet. And that's okay. That's my life in 2019. How do I sustain that without all the bullshit that they say that I need in order to sustain that? Right? And
right.
That takes more than me to sit back and ask the question, what do I need to survive in this new landscape that we've built?
Because it's really about what do we need to survive.
Right.
Like it really does have to be a community, and a community beyond, like, it's awesome that we've all found each other electronically, but when it comes down to it, people in the Eyes Open group or other groups that we're associated with will be like, what are we going to do if this all breaks down? And like, let's get each other's physical addresses. And it's like, dude, if it all breaks down, I'm not going to be like flying to Ireland. Sorry. Like, like I'm going to be talking to the people who are across the street and the people in my, general neighborhood and maybe in the next city, but like not much farther, because when shit breaks down, that's your fucking reality now.
Right. You're back to the fucking
the better thought to me is, I'd rather shit not break down. I don't want things to break down.
No, I don't want them to break down either.
It's what we as a collective society have to start saying is, all right, we know that we're policed to death, and we know that we're lawed to death, and we know that we're taxed to death, and we know that our government works X ways. We simply don't accept that anymore. So when you talk about, I like the word insurrection better than I like the word revolution, because it's inserting new ideas into an existing system. And you want to hope that becomes a mind worm and a virus for the new people going into power. What I'd rather see happen is people not even wanting to go into power, because what the fuck is that power structure?
Right.
It's outmoded and it's outdated and it's trash.
And people who
We all
want
know
it are
that,
creepy.
right. It's junk, and it causes a shitload of anxiety in anyone that gets involved in it, and it makes people go at each other's throats, like we were talking about earlier. Why would anyone want to propagate this system? Step back and take a look. And I don't know. I'm rambling at this point, but that's
I agree.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
I don't know that, like, this is one of the things about the, we can't even decide what pizza to order is, I don't know that it's possible to like map out an exit strategy step by step that's going to be like successful everywhere in the world or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Right, and then the people that do decide, like you were saying before, oh, let's go off grid and start living sustainably on our own. That works in onesies, twosies. It doesn't work for entire neighborhoods.
Yeah,
because
I'll
could
Jim Jones that shit.
it could work in entire communities. Think about like little tiny things like in Colorado Springs, there's a movement to try to get people to start composting. And it's like the simplest thing, but like first you have to get people to even know what the fuck it is. And then you have to get them like aware of how important it is. And then you have to give them like the tools to actually do it themselves, and nobody wants to. So you have to make it really, really easy and like, and all these steps. But then eventually you have a whole entire city that's like big on composting. In Everett, Washington, they started it some time ago, and now they have the largest amount of compost in the fucking world. Literally, they sell it. It's like now a money-making venture. And like little things like this can change an entire culture. So like, I do think you can do things as a community, and I do think it can start small and grassroots. And I think that is a type of activism that's actually worthwhile. Because I think there's a lot of types of activism that are not really worthwhile. But I think when you're going out and you're actually like changing the culture of your community to become something that's more, good for the planet, good for people, good for building connections between each other, and effective at making yourself less dependent on a sick system, then those are all really positive things. And, like someone posted something recently that made me remember, like, we used to support our communities through charitable organizations and working together in churches, like I don't care what your religion is or isn't. Right. Churches were a place where you could actually go and get help and find real people to connect with. And we don't have that anymore. In fact, we have this like derision of the church, which is interesting. But whether you want to I don't care about the religion aspect, but like having a place where people go just to connect and help each other, like we don't have it anymore. And if we went back to that sort of thing, even that would be like, a non-revolutionary
there's a bigger
idea.
Call for people to want the government to take care of them.
Yes, exactly.
Than there is for, it's what can my community do for me? No, it's what am I entitled to from the government?
Yes, and that's exactly why we're here. Is this like desire to not have responsibility for yourself, and this desire to be just like entitled and gifted. And that's why people are freaking the fuck out in the streets. They're like, well, how dare you like not use my fucking pronoun or whatever. And it's cool, like I want people to use your pronoun, but like, dude, that's not the world, and you're not entitled to be comfortable all the time.
Right.
Sorry.
And not to mention, unless someone's like purposely like mispronouncing you to be a dick, it's probably that the person doesn't know you and they had no idea about you. And so you go and DEFCON on them for not knowing some shit that to them is pretty much fucking imaginary. It's kind of fucked up. Like, I don't know. But no. That's like a whole different side point to just that. But I mean, it is weird though. Like, it's just fucking like, dude, everybody's so about themselves that it is weird. But on the other hand, I would say 99% of my fucking social interactions when I go out to the store, when I go out in public or whatever, like people are all fucking cool to each other for the most part. You might see some assholes here and there. You'll definitely see someone fucking methed out doing a dance off to your face. But for the most part, like, dude, like I remember when I was watching, so like here's a good example. I was fucking fried out of my mind. I won't tell you why, but I was like mostly inside for a period of time.
Why, if you
like,
tell people
really,
why, they're
I
going to be like,
like,
oh, he was like...
I was jacking off in the eggshells.
Yeah.
Okay? No, I was playing like a lot of games.
Just let him guess.
I was playing a lot. I was basically recovering from being a drunk, but I was playing a lot of games and shit, like just getting fucking blazed. And the Ferguson shit happened, and I lived in the hood, and like fucking, I was kind of done with like hanging out with like fucking hood people and shit, like my friends that used to do dirt and whatever. So I was just a fucking nerd in the hood, like playing games, doing whatever. And I was watching Ferguson, and I was like kind of detached because I lived like 40 minutes away from everyone, so I didn't really hang out with a lot of people. And I'd watch the Ferguson shit, Ferguson riots, and like in my head I'm like, wow, like the race relations are fucking crazy right now, like, but I need almond milk and shit. And they did have almond milk in the hood, but I remember even like thinking like, man, like this could be like weird for me, like this is the first time I've actually felt like white in the hood, like whatever. Anyway, so I went to the grocery store, like kind of like thinking some shit was gonna go down, like Whitey's gonna get fucked up getting his almond milk. And like I walked in the store and everyone's like, hey, yo, like what's up, man? How you been? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, how did I let the TV like convince me in my isolation that shit was gonna get fucking crazy because of Ferguson, like some shit that was happening like 1,000 miles away? My point is, everybody's fucking detached from reality. Most people are like on this narcissistic bullshit in their home, but when you go out into the real world, like people there's like a lot of dead-eyed fucking people just walking to get their like M&Ms and shit,
some NPCs
but
shit.
Most people will like talk to you, like most people are pretty fucking cool, and like I don't know who they voted for, I'm not gonna ask them, I don't care.
Do you think people are getting fatigued with those questions?
I would imagine.
Want to be fucking be asked.
Which ones? Like, who did you vote for, or whatever?
Who did you vote for? You know, which way do you lean, right or left? What's
right?
Come on, dude. None of that stuff is me.
Coke or Pepsi, motherfucker!
Yeah,
Dr. Pepper. Yeah, I think most people are, dude. I think most people are. Like, even like the fucking gravity of the impeachment. Like, I think that's reaching like a bunch of people in like senior homes. Like, I don't think like most people fucking care. Even the people that like hate Trump, I don't even think fucking care about any of this anymore. Like, I think there's like small pockets of people, and then like people who write articles for fucking Vox, and it gets blown up as a meme or something. Like, I think it seems like a lot more prevalent and important than it is to most normal people, because most people are like, dude, I'm fucking tired because cost of living sucks and I have to work fucking 2 jobs. And then I have to go home and feed my shitty kid.
My shitty kid.
My shitty kid his food. No, like, you get, I don't know. I see it like most of my friends are worn out. Most of my friends make pretty good money. Most of them are pretty fucking worn out. And like the last thing on earth they give a fuck about is like politics. Like, they just want to go home and make food, eat, hang out, like talk to their family, see how their day was. Or my friends without families, they just want to go home, jack off, and play a goddamn video game and order a pizza. Like, no one fucking cares about this shit except for, I think, like a small group of people who have been convinced by their pocket at work, maybe, or whatever, that like shit is important and shit is going crazy now.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people don't even care about it until they get home and then they're online in their underwear.
Yeah.
Right.
The rest of the day.
Like, yeah, if you've had a shitty day, that's like a fun place to vent. Until they blocked me, I loved going into like Occupy Democrats and the InfoWars chats and like fucking with the left and like right.
Just the two extremes, and just fucking see how you can
because they're like the same thing, just like on different sides. But then they killed InfoWars, so you can't mess with them. But which is good, because they all probably have super male vitality.
But how many people are of the exact same mindset? That's the only time they ever talk about politics, is when they're not talking to people in their own sphere of influence in their lives.
Yeah.
In their, their interpersonal relationships, not their online relationships. And I say that because I feel like a lot of online relationships can have their own spheres of influence that are just as important in a different way as your, real life interpersonal relationships. But politics don't even enter conversations, and not because I'm going out of my way to ignore it when I'm talking to, people at work or whatever. It just doesn't come up in conversation.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't organically come up. It doesn't. Like, unless it's like Thanksgiving or something.
Right.
But it doesn't really. But even then, like, it only comes up because people are like bored and had a few, and they're like, "Let's fucking."
It comes up when people are like one white person walks into a room with some other white people, and they're like, "Yeah, racism is bad, am I right?" And then they get their cape of like Black Person Ally of the Month, and they're like, "Yep, got my points."
That's such a meme, right?
Right.
Have you ever seen anything like that happen in real life?
No.
Good lord.
Because here's the thing, if like there was a person on a fucking bus and they were like, dark skinned, and some white person got on and was like, "You fucking darky, I hate you," I'd be like, "Yo, shut the fuck up."
I think most
But that's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know what I would do?
Exactly.
I'd probably, if Johnny and I were on a bus and somebody came in and started doing that, I'd probably like do one of these. Johnny, do you see this? Is this really happening right now?
And like, this thing's about to get fucked up.
But it'd be like this fucking scene from Spider-Man where all the New Yorkers like get together and they're like, "We can't do this, we're New Yorkers." Like, I think more people are like that than they are like, "Yeah, get her. Get that darky."
Right.
Like, what?
That's why
No, you know what? Even better, I would probably do this. This is so fucking going viral right now. Just record the whole thing.
Right. That's the thing. Like, most people would just record it. Like, but I do think, like,
The peer pressure.
for the most part, dude, like, I don't know. Like, I've always, like, I'm not like one of those people that are like a meme, like, just like steps in, but I've always just like figured if I saw some really fucked up shit, like, I'd say something, or someone would fucking say something, like,
Right.
Which
but
is,
I don't know. Like, I think a lot of people would just start filming it. Like, it's weird. It's weird, like those videos with people like passed out on the ground or something, and everyone just like walks by or like films it or something. Like, I feel shitty when I drive by someone whose like car is broken down, but I'm like, oh, the old broken down fucking take Johnny as a sex fucking slave trick, huh? Like, I'm not falling for that one. But I do
Not
feel
again.
like, why didn't I say, not the third time. I mean, the first two times.
I just had
I
a thought.
liked the first time.
I just had a thought about your Ferguson point, Johnny, because I brought up the cell phone thing, and I started thinking as you were talking, most people during any big situation right now, the first thing they reach for is their cell phone these days. I'm either tweeting or I'm messaging you guys
Or I'm recording it.
Whatever. And I remembered reading in the news during Ferguson. First time I read about this was during Ferguson. People were using their cell phones to communicate and organize. So
Right.
the first thing they did was they shut down the cell towers.
Yep.
Right?
If that's true, yes.
Right. If that's true. And I wonder, have you guys heard any?
I mean, they did it
If
allegedly.
they're doing that, if they're pushing us to have some sort of, insurrection, wouldn't they allow us to keep these?
Yes, but
What
they
makes
also, we also have like MeshNet and other tools to create your own network, so that you don't need.
People aren't generally doing that though. You have to be really fucking organized to have that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm like the only person in Colorado who has it, probably. They're like, it won't work. Yeah, that's a good point, though. Like, why wouldn't they just disable that if they didn't actually want it to happen?
Yeah, just an odd passing thought. So.
Wait, so then that makes me think that Ferguson had some merit to it. Like, it actually was real.
Some merit, right? Exactly.
But then,
All I knew
this is how fucked up I get, is I'm like, well,
maybe.
maybe they did that to make me think that it had some merit.
Dude, that's why I'm saying, like, it's a rabbit hole of fuckery, and that's why I just eat pizza and shit. Like, that's like all I did.
These are the things that keep me awake at night.
But I know.
It's just like we're mentioning pizza a couple times in this episode. I'm going to point out, just like DD Speck said in the YouTube chat, I don't want any pizza with walnut sauce.
Oh, good lord.
It's right, though.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that kind of pizza except fucked up people who should die.
Walnut sauce?
It's a Pizzagate reference.
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't get too far into Pizzagate just because I was like, that's a rabbit hole that seems like it'll take a lot of time, and like every time I hear pizza, I have to order one. It's like fucked up. It's like every time when I used to see like people in movies do cocaine, I was like, I gotta get some blow. I'd see someone smoking a cigarette on a show, I'd be like,
I gotta smoke a cigarette.
Like, so like I'd hear Pizzagate, and then like fucking Domino's would arrive, and I'd like forget all about it, and then the next day someone would bring up Pizzagate, and like I'd order Papa John's, forget all. I was like, it was sad.
Well,
So anyway, that pizza reference went over my head, and I went way off on a high as fuck.
Well, it went under your head, Johnny. You're
It
upset.
went way.
The too long didn't read was pedophilia is bad. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the same shit. I was like, oh yeah, like they fuck kids in Congress, of course.
Like, obviously.
Moving on.
I love looking at them all. I like looking at their faces and being like, that one fucks kids. That one maybe doesn't, actually. That one eats them.
That's
the
crazy because I play a similar game when I people watch called Fullback or Thong. And I try to decipher if a woman is wearing fullback panties or a thong.
See,
it's not really the...
This is just like we were saying earlier. You can go from like the depth of like political fucking analysis, and then to like whether or not people are wearing panties.
This is why I'm so enamored by absurdism. I love absurdism so much.
I didn't know there was an ism for the absurd.
Oh yeah. Absurdism.
Yeah, I
like the two ladies yelling at the cat, or just
why is that cat's face so fucking funny to me? Every time I see that cat's face, I laugh. 12 years from now, I'll see that cat's fucking face and laugh. Like I can't, it's the funniest shit to me. Like I don't know why.
My favorite.
Like, why is she yelling at the fucking cat? Like I just, and why does the cat look like he's about to say some shit? Like you crazy? I don't know. Like it's so fucking. It's like the best capture. I don't know. It's like the coral memes from Walking Dead.
Oh, you shared one the other day that just has me cracking up every time I see it. It's the one nerdy dude going,
Zac Efron or whatever.
It's Zac Efron.
You didn't like. I didn't even put words on it. It's just me being fucking white. Like it's like my response to anyone. Like yeah, that's me.
Or I watch a Netflix.
Yeah, I watch it. You what? Me too. It's amazing.
Oh, well, we've lost most of our viewers at this point, and
Yeah,
we've been
I wanna
going
go
for
to
a
bed.
while, so I guess we'll start to wrap it up now.
I want to order some pizza and masturbate.
Yeah. I know, I was like, I love how many times in this conversation somehow masturbation came up. Nice job, guys. Way to keep it classy.
That's my fault.
All right, but seriously, we got to do the final words of wisdom. So bring it back to the wise place, if you can. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, because I don't know what.
He's gone right side up.
I'll do it for this moment.
It's the fucking apocalypse.
Johnny has revolved.
The revolution is complete.
I think if you're going to feel insurrectionist against any one thing, violence is never the answer, because force is never the answer. Forcing your beliefs on other people is it's not wise. People have to come to their own conclusions and their own understandings of their world, and in doing so, they'll gravitate toward people that or not feel the same way they do, and that's how revolutions start, and that's how the world is actually changed. It's not through forcing us into some left or right paradigm, and that's my words of wisdom.
All right.
Amen.
Shit, I done teared up. No, it's true though, dude. Like, fucking. So I ran around with all these like different thoughts of conspiracy and all this shit, revolution, blah blah blah. The world's fucked, everything's fucked. Like, we gotta fix this. Don't pay taxes, blah blah blah. And it like spun me out for like a long time. And my buddy kind of came to the conclusion, like, dude, you can only worry about yourself and your immediate surroundings, like your spiritual self, like being at peace with yourself, and like, dude, just respecting people off the bat until they give you reason not to, and just make life simple. Dude, I just laugh all day long. I just have a good time. I'm fucking kind to people, whatever. Like, I try to make people laugh if they're in a fucked up spot. That's all I can really do. And I think as far as violent revolution or insurrection, dude, you can change more lives by just being fucking nice to people at the store.
Yes.
That's the way I look at it. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm supposed to be like loading up an AK and going after Parliament. I don't know why I care about the UK government.
You're gonna go to Britain.
It's V for Vendetta, man. But no, dude, I just think really, like, you just got to work and worry about yourself. I would love to get involved in like my biggest issue right now is like I think cost of living is fucked up for people, and that's what's causing like fucking 90% of all this bullshit. And like, if there was some way for me on the ground level or grassroots level to like fix that, that'd be cool. But for now, I'm just living cheap. I'm like scraping by and like making art and music, and makes me happy. If there's any time I feel a calling that I need to go out and like represent people and help other people, then I'll let that happen. But for now, I'll like just try to make people laugh, make shitty music and art.
He makes beautiful music and art, and people have already asked for it in the chat, and I gave them your link, so screw you. So both of you, you can tell us where we can find more of you before I wrap it up.
Well, I haven't done anything in a long time because I'm lazy, so usually find me trolling in the Eyes Open group, and that's about it lately. Until I decide to quit being lazy and start podcasting again.
Yes, start producing again. We miss it.
Yeah, please do. Seriously.
All right, Johnny, where can we find you?
I have artwork at johnnylarson.com. I have some videos at Pornhub under the user Dictator. No, I have all my art and music. johnnylarson.com. Check it out. It's weird stuff. That's about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Claude, for being here tonight.
My pleasure.
And thank you so much, Johnny, for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. I'm going to say, just remember that there's nothing that is worth more in the world than what's inside of you. Whatever's going on outside of you is generally going to be caught up in all kinds of illusion, and if it's not, it's going to be because it's right here, right now in front of you. It's your neighbors, it's your house, it's your community, and you can do whatever you can do. And even that is like, don't feel too much pressure if you don't have time to go volunteer and like help everybody. That's not everybody's calling, and it's not everybody's place. Sometimes the best thing you can do is really focus on yourself and making sure you're a healthy, whole individual, because that ripples out and affects everyone around you anyway. And eventually you do get to a point where you have enough abundance flowing from you that you can share that with everybody, and that's a beautiful thing. But you really can't force it, or else you kind of lose that ability to function. At some point it all breaks down. So keep your cup full so you can pour it into others' cups. And as always, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah!
It's a one-on-one lesson, so do your homework. Make your dome hurt while up on earth. My bones are blessed from holy dirt. Vibes manifested to words that told me search for verbs and adjectives to describe birth. Worth more than one can speak, while the tongue beats a weak, a sour taste in your mouth, bittersweet. Words can also kill you when you sleep. Mind condition, low frequencies while the subconscious mind listens. I can tell a vision filled with lies disguised as truth, and spread it like the word to the youth. Watch the tube. A place where the God gets booed is sorcery. To recreate the God forgery does more than meets the eye. Not too many know. Just hear me flow like the eye of Horus Henio. Yeah, not ready to leave until we believe we're free to go. You hear me? Go.
From the ether, the material will eat ya. Stuck on this plane, lanes use jet fuel to greet ya. The dimensional 3 ain't beating me on top of the 4th. Didn't climb Jacob's ladder to squab with a sword. Forge with Yggdrasil, branch down. Try quiet your lamps now. Ascension past the matter, let they slam out they damn mouths. We ain't on land now, but they under, over, understand. Sacrificing wisdom, hoarding dumber, kosher your wicked hands, putting faith in worthless worship of the mortals. Artificial portals, mass ingestion of the black goo, bioengineered morsels. Conversing with machine elves, bypassing maggots. They stuck on Android screens now. I'm scrolling emerald tablets. Moloch living lavish, off the backs of the savage. Them clasp hands at the Sabbath, smack of energy damage. They done twisted the tongues, put nanotech in the lungs. The awakening's begun. All they really can do is fucking
run.